This is our Wednesday night channeling, and I believe this is number 102. Let us have a quiet time before we start. Let us think of this quiet time as a beginning time of all coming together in thought and in spirit, and see this circle of light reaching up to the higher realms of divine love and light. Feel ourselves as we reach up, merging together as one unit of life force. And remember that everyone here is as much a part of the channeling and the contact as the one who speaks. Let's think of peace and love and divine light. Let's bring our full attention to this one place, this room and this moment, and be at one. Thank you, Father. Good evening, my dear ones. This is Don, coming to you from these realms of love and light with great joy. And I have a special one here tonight that you all know that is going to bring you the lesson. And I will release to his beautiful vibrations now. My little ones, how wonderful it is to be here with you. How I could wish to know how much I love you and how much the Father loves you. When you are in the physical body, it is difficult to know the true meaning of love. It is difficult to understand the concept, the real understanding of life and God. And let us talk tonight on the subject of you and God. It is one of the most important things that you could know, and it is also what you would call one of the most heavy things for us to discuss. But let us come together in love, and let the Father's love be present here in great abundance. How are you and God? How do you feel about God? How do you feel about life? How do you feel about yourself? My beloveds, these are all one and the same. For you and I and God and all others are one. There is only one life expressing in many ways, on many dimensions, on many planets. Nevertheless, we are all one. Even on your planet, you have different countries and speak different languages, but this does not matter. You are still one within each individual expression of life. And when you realize, when you learn to realize the depth and the breadth of life and of God, you will know how great life is. My beloveds, your human minds is incapable now of stretching too far into the true realization of life, the true meaning of life. Let us use your language and words tonight and try to move in to a greater understanding. And I would have you this week and from now on to consider this. When you have the realization of how much I love you and how much the Father loves you, my dear ones, if you can learn to realize this to a little more, a greater extent, then nothing could come near you that would be harmful. No experience would upset you if you truly knew a little more, not much, but a little more of God's love for you and my love for you. My dear ones, you're never alone. I want you to realize completely and fully that God is the life force that you are. So how could you be separated from Him? And when you think of God, most on your dimension, if they think of God at all, they think of someone way off somewhere else. And many have been conditioned that God is an angry God that will punish you for mistakes you might have made. My dear one, God only sees you as perfect, whole, and complete as He created you. This is the only way that God sees you and experiences you. Yes, He is there with you, and He is the life force that you are. And He does experience every experience with you, but He still knows that this plane is not eternal, and it is illusion. Yes, it seems real while you're here, and you're going through these experiences. And in a sense, it is real, in the sense of time. I want you to consider contemplating how you and God are, how you really feel about God. Do you have a personal relationship with God? Do you take time each day to sit in quietness and listen for that inner voice of His that is in the depths of your being? If you do not, my dear ones, you are missing the mark. And no matter whether you hear anything or not, or get any response, continue to set aside some of your day, a small portion of just sitting in the stillness, thinking about God, and coming to realize that His presence is there with you at all times. If you could do this, and do it at the same time each day, it would set up a rhythm. And I tell you, my dear ones, if you are serious and earnest, you will learn to hear that voice within you. It may not be in words. It may be impressions. It may be in knowing. And as you learn to receive the impressions while you're sitting still in the quietness of your home or wherever, you can then learn to hear his voice and his guidance as you go through your day, for he is continually there with you. You cannot be separated from God in any way except in your thoughts. If you think you're separated from God, then you have created that illusion in your mind and in your concepts. But in true reality, you are still not separated from God. As you sit in the stillness, as you listen, I want you to contemplate how much God loves you. Give no thought of any mistakes from the past. Bring your thoughts completely to the moment and make this a very special time, a time that is just between you and God. And as you sit there, think about God's love for you. And think about your love for God. How can you express your love for God? Yes, you can tell him in your mind that you love him. But more than that, my dear ones, you can love life. You can love yourself. And you can love all those around you. And you can express only love as you go through your days. This is telling God how much you love him more than any words can say. You each one, and each who hear this tape or read the books are divine. Realize this. You are not human. You're only playing the role of human. You are divine, my beloveds. You are God's children, made out of the substance of his love. What else and how else could you be? Yes, you did come down to these lower dimensions, and you're playing different roles and going through different experiences. But my dear ones, it is now time to come back home to the realization and to the consciousness of the reality of your being. It is time for you to awaken, to know who you truly are, and to have this realization to a much greater degree than ever before. And if you will take this time, and if when you go to sit down, if you will put away all thoughts of the world and just be there with God, let no negative thoughts or fear thoughts come near you, and just be. Just be. Could you know the depth and the breadth of those two words? Just be. When you're living in the present moment, you are being. When you are living with thoughts and feelings of love, unconditional love, you are being the God self that you truly are. Yes, this is a heavy subject tonight, but we must come to this. We must understand and learn to grow into a greater realization of the true reality of our being and our relationship with God and with life, all of life. No matter what life is appearing to be, my dear ones, it is life. And on these lower dimensions, it appears to be ugly and evil and all these other things that you have put with it and called it. But in true reality, my dear ones, it is only a learning process, and it is still God. It is still life, expressing in a certain way so that those involved have an opportunity to learn. Try not to make the mistake of judging others or situations. Try to remember that in true reality there is only one life, and this life is God, and you are God. This one life is God expressing in many ways, in many forms, in the created universe and in the uncreated universe. It is all God. Can you think with me for a little while of how life would be if we could eliminate any judgment and just be, and let everyone else just be? That would eliminate our wars, would it not? It would eliminate any confusion that you might have about life. For if you could bring yourself to the present moment and be the divine loving being that you are every moment, then you would soon rise above this physical plane, these planes of illusion, and you would know the reality of your being. You would know the truth of life, and you would be that truth. In true reality, you already are. But when you come to this realization, then all so-called problems fade away into the nothingness from which they came. And you and life and everyone else are one in love, in God. Yes, I see you trying to assimilate this in your thinking, and even those who have heard it many times, still they are just words until you can learn to live these words, to experience divine love, to experience God and your relationship with God. And my dear ones, if you continue to let the world and the five senses have the majority or all of your time, as you call it, you will not know God as he truly is. You will not know love as it truly is. And you will not understand yourself. This is why it is so important that you set aside 15 minutes, 20, 30, every day to go to your special place, but especially to go to your place in consciousness where you and God only dwell. And you feel his love. You feel his gentle touch. You feel him embracing you and drawing you to his bosom. And you know the fullness of life. My dear ones, open your hearts. Open your minds. And allow yourself to have these tremendous, gigantic experiences that life has to offer to you. It is always there, but you need to shut off the world to learn how to do it. And when you learn how to do it, then you can take it into your day and you can see God everywhere you look. And you can speak to God in every one of his different expressions and know that you are speaking to God. And you can love everyone unconditionally. This is your true goal. Nothing else is more valuable than this to you. Nothing of this world is more valuable than how you and God are. Your understanding of God's love, of his beauty, of the joy and the bliss consciousness that you can move into. This is a beautiful circle of light tonight. And I would pause now at this time and let you speak and ask questions or make comments, if you will. It is good to have the exchange of communication at these times when you come together like this. Are there any questions tonight? Yes, this is a heavy subject to ask questions about or to speak about maybe, because maybe you haven't thought that much about it. Or if you have, you have maybe not allowed yourself to get too deep into this subject. And this is why I bring it to your attention tonight. Do you have questions? This is the most important and the heaviest, as you would call it, subject that we could talk about. And it is difficult for you to ask questions or to really think about it because it is the reality of your being. And for a long time, you have played the role of human many lifetimes. And it has been a long time since you and God were truly one in the Garden of Eden, or the Godhead as you know it.
But Adam and Eve weren't really one with God when they wandered off, were they?
My dear Annabelle, you and I are Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve is symbolic of the Adamic race, and it was written as two people, but it is truly the whole race of those who left the Godhead and came down into the lower dimensions to have the experiences that you're experiencing in these lower dimensions.
This love people seek is God, is it not?
Say this louder, please.
The love people seek in human beings is God, is it not?
Yes, it is. Because, as you call them, human beings are truly gods, and they are one with God. And when you fall in love with someone, as you say, it is a searching. It is looking for that oneness with God, the Creator of all that is. And when you share this love with each other in harmony and beauty and joy, then you are sharing God together.
When we pray for others, for instance, like Hitler or Mussolini or Nero, we're resting at their God-like door, are we not, and waking them up?
Only they can wake themselves up. But when we send them God's love, it is there for them to take advantage of or not.
But there's some cracks so it'll get through, isn't there?
It is always there when you send it. But see, my dear Annabelle, we all have free will, and God does not interfere with this free will that He has given everyone. And everyone has the freedom to choose the time that they awaken to the truth.
Human beings are kind of lazy, and you'd think to say in their laziness, they forget their free will once in a while, wouldn't you?
Let us say this in a little different way, if you will allow me to ask you to talk about these individuals that are sitting in the circle, and Nero and Hitler, as gods. We're playing the role of human beings. And yes, we do get lethargic. And this is one of the things that holds you back, is our forgetfulness and not wanting to remember, because we get caught up in the illusion of the game, of the play on the stage, and we do forget. And if we're reminded about who we truly are, sometimes we don't want to hear it. In some of the subjects in your lessons, you are lively about asking questions. But look at tonight. It is a little fearful, or shall we say, you are not used to getting so close to home within yourself. Because, my dear ones, the God that lives within you is your true home.
And is it true that when we know who we really are, and that we are all extensions of each other, we, even as the people that this lady mentioned, and when we send love to them, would it be best to send it unlabeled?
If we send love unlabeled, it can do so much more. You see, God's love is all-powerful and all-wise, and when we send it unlabeled, it knows what to do. But because of our free will again, if we send it labeled, then it only does what you labeled it to do.
So if we send it to Hitler or Nero, if we send it unlabeled, it automatically would do what is right for them.
That is correct, yes. And from our point of view on this physical plane, how do we know what is right for any other? Most of us do not know what is right for ourselves. Yes.
Could we talk those down? Just what you talked about earlier, a little bit more about judging other people. It seems like when you look at somebody and you would think something else, and that was the judging, but are there other ways that we judge people that we're not even aware of?
This is an unconscious thing for the most part. When you see someone, you say, oh, they're short, or they're tall, or they're wearing red, or they talk with an accent. You see, this is truly judging, is it not?
Yeah.
Yes. And we don't think of it. Most don't think of it as judging. They are making conversation with themselves, or if they speak out loud with others. But it is judging. And when you get to the place where you can look at another and see God in everyone, no matter how they are experiencing or expressing life, then you are free from the illusions of these lower dimensions. Practice this, my dear ones. Practice seeing everyone as God. There are many, many different experiences and expressions, as many as there are individuals. And the individuals go through many different experiences while they are on these lower dimensions. And the only reason that you are here is to learn and to grow and to understand more about yourself and the reality of your being. And you do learn even while you are unenlightened of your true reality. For each experience carries its own lesson. And sometimes you may have to have this experience over and over until you understand, until you rise above it.
And we experience, every one of us experiences all of these experiences.
In a matter of speaking, not exactly as everyone else has. But, for example, anger, we all experience that subject, see, and we learn from it. Our jealousy, or whatever subject matter you might say, we experience it in a different way because we're all individuals. But we will have that experience while you're in the lower dimensions. And when you rise above it, then you are free. And each time, my dear ones, that you conquer one thing, this gives you much more power to rise above other things. Be grateful in all the things that you see God in. Be grateful for the understanding of how to send love. This is a very powerful force that you have been taught, and it is something that is so wonderful because it helps others. But as it goes through you, my dear ones, it also helps you automatically.
As you send love to another person, you are greeting them, aren't you? And for the moment you're greeting them, you have their attention, and the love can sneak by in that time, can it?
Not necessarily, my dear one. This is wanting to change others, see. Well, the way you express this, you're wanting to change them and for them to be what you think they should be. I'm scolding you just a little. Please take it in love. But when you send love, release it to God and release the individual to God and think no more about it. It is up to that individual, for they have free will to accept that love and to change or not to accept it. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yeah. God bless you.
Even if we experience anger and whatever, God still loves us unconditionally, doesn't he?
He always has and he always will. He has never departed from his love, unconditional love for us, and he never will.
And isn't this our goal, to learn to respond to every situation and every other person with unconditional love?
Yes, it is. Because you see, you are children of God, and you're growing into God's, and that is your goal, to be as God is.
Going back on the subject of judgment.
Speak louder, please.
Going back on the subject of judgment, we made a statement that our conversations as judges, through conversation we judge. It seems that the play that we have, the dialogue of the script of each play, each character that we portray, the dialogue is based on the judgment factor. So does that mean that when we come to the enlightenment of unconditional love for each and every one, that there will be no compensation?
As I've said before, there will come a time when you only say yea or nay, and this is what you mean, is it not?
In order to speak, as we know of communication, is based on a judgment. So it seems that if you do not wish to judge, then there would be really silence. Because the society and the way we view the reality of the play on the planet, in this reality, this illusion, is based on a judgment verbal.
Not completely and not necessarily. You can learn to speak and think in a loving way only. It will take time, and you will have to watch yourself. But when you greet another and look into their eyes and see God there, you can say to them, I love you, with meaning, or you can just think it. And you can say, isn't this a wonderful day? I am so grateful for the life that God has given me. This is not judging, is it?
And now, as you wouldn't be able to carry on a social existence with this, is my saying, a social existence on the play is based on that. So if we come to that point, then we would no longer be on the play and the planet. We would no longer be in the physical plane anymore.
You could be in the physical. And let me help you to understand that this is why you are here, is to learn to see, speak, think, and feel only love while you're still in the physical. These are the tasks, you might say, if you want to think of it in this way. And when you do overcome these over a period of what you think of as time, and you know that you have mastered it, then you need not be on this plane. But you are here now to learn to do this and to practice it until you become love incarnate. Do you understand? These are good questions, and it is good that you have aroused yourself to ask the questions.
If we judge another, are we not judging ourselves?
Yes, you're seeing in the other something that you do not like about yourself most of the time.
But you see things too that you like that they have that you don't have too.
Yes, and you can be grateful for what they have, and that you see these loving attributes of God in them, and then you can emulate them.
You talked a little bit ago about how when you have a conversation with somebody or with yourself and you're judging people with that. I guess I never thought that your thoughts are just like you'd be speaking, or is there a difference in that? Are they as powerful as having a conversation with somebody?
As a man thinketh, so is he. You have to think before you speak. And you can put as much power in a thought as you can in words as you speak out loud. It is the emotional power that you put into it, you see.
But if you start is by not talking to other people about and judging others, that would be a good place to start. Whether or not that person you still have to work on the thinkings.
Well, you have to think before you speak. You see, it all comes back to your thoughts. Life works through thought to reach the dimension you are on. You have to think before you speak a word. You have to think before you act anyway. Our deeds are all come after thought. Thought precedes all of this. And so,
You think either.
yes, my dear, you can think loving thoughts. And you can see others making mistakes and just send them love and release them to God without any judgment thoughts, knowing that they are doing the best that they can as you've been taught.
Because is it not true that thoughts are things
Yes.
they can create or destroy?
Yes, you have, your planet is covered with a dark cloud of negative thoughts, and this is what closes you off from these upper dimensions of love and light. It was never meant that you should walk alone without seeing us on these dimensions and speaking with us just as you do with each other. But through long, long years, you have clouded this planet with dark negative thoughts that has closed you off from these dimensions of love and light. And now you have to consciously bring about this contact, and this is our subject matter tonight, is it not? Is making contact with God. And remember, when you're making contact with each other, you're making contact with God. When you make contact with your teachers on these dimensions, you're making contact with God. For there is no other than God. All is God. God is life. All is life. Everything that you experience, even your inanimate objects, has to have life force, or it would not exist.
I have a question.
Yes.
In reference to transcend a particular person or send love into a particular situation, what's the difference between, or does the idea of setting it unconditionally come into play? For example, there's a situation, a business situation, thing seemed to have taken a different turn for obviously some opportunity for me or a lesson for me to learn. Within this situation, what I want to do is send unconditional love in it. But yet I find myself, while doing that, sometimes getting caught up in a specific results that I want to happen from it. Is that,
In other words, making the sale. Is this true?
yes.
Yes. There's nothing wrong with wanting to make the sale. This is your physical work. But when you put it before everything else, then it can have a negative turn to it. In other words, if you want to sell someone something that is not for their benefit, you see, then it is not loving, is it? But when you know that it is good for them and it would help them, and you feel this sincerely, then you go about trying to communicate with them in a loving way, still giving them freedom, but communicating as much as you can of what you know, but releasing the results to God.
How about the concept of, shall we say, offering more than you would normally just to make the sale, and that putting the sale first then in that situation?
It depends on your motive.
Let's say I was overly compromised to make the sale, whereas I might not normally go that far, but out of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, maybe just longing for the sale that much that I'm willing to compromise what I was normally stand for in.
And so what would this mean to you if you made the sale this way?
I guess then I'm putting the sale, making the sale more important.
Yes.
Even though in my heart I realize the benefit, to the customer in reference to purchasing it, but yet other issues have come into play that I could put up obviously an opportunity situation, and maybe that's what I need to learn here, that I need not to make the sale the important thing, and I need to just allow others.
Try not to analyze it too much. Just be loving and do the best that you can, and know that God is within you and God is within the customer, and send love for the good of all concerned. And it doesn't matter if you give them a greater advantage to make the sale. That is up to you. If you do it in love, then you are doing correctly.
I've heard of two groups of people against each other, and the one was this group that had very little money, prayed for the welfare of the other group constantly, and again they won the house. that everybody won out.
I am not certain that I understand what you said.
There were two different groups, and the one had money and the other one did not. But the smaller group won out in the end because they kept praying for the welfare of both groups.
And so,
Yeah.
what is your point, my dear?
Well, if you're wishing them as well as you wish yourself, and that they will get as much out of it as you will get out of it, then things work out well.
Well, let us think about this. Yes, you could desire for them, but this is again judging. It is such a subtle thing sometimes. And how do we know what the other one needs?
You know, but if you're praying for their welfare, you know they need their welfare.
No, you do not.
But you if you want them to feel good, you want them to pick what will be fitting for them.
How do you know what is good for them? Let us go back, my dear Annabelle, and remind you of the question in one of your classes. Do you have the right to hope for another?
I'm not saying you're hoping for them. You're hoping for their own self. You're hoping for their hope.
You're tangling this up a little bit, but when it comes out, you see, you're outlining what you think could be the best for them. And it is not for us to judge. When you send love, send it unlabeled, and let God's love and the wisdom of God's love do the work.
Well, you do it that way. That was what I was talking about.
Yes. Uh-huh.
I didn't make myself clear, I guess.
Yes. When we try to analyze too much, we get tangled up. But if we keep it simple and just send love unlabeled and in love, and then release the love and that individual to God. If you release that individual to God, then you think no more about it, or you don't even think how it's going to come out.
Thank you.
Do you see?
When we're talking about the sales, a little bit ago about making a sale, and you said not to analyze it, but to just do it in love. What does that mean? Do it in love. You know, you associate love with kindness and humility and generosity and all these things. How do you do that in a sale?
You put your best foot forward and your best communication forward, and be honest and truthful, and send love into it, and release the outcome to God.
That's what makes a sale, and will it?
When you are serving others, this makes a sale. When you are serving them for their best good and for their desire, see, that makes the sale, and it makes it in the right way. If you promise them something that you cannot deliver, or if you misrepresent the product, you see, then you are not being honest, and that is not loving. Do you understand? Yes. When we come back to loving, if we remember the many attributes of love and bring them into our thoughts and into our experiences and into our dealings with others, then we are living the life of God. We are manifesting God in the physical.
Is it sometimes possible, for instance, there was an occasion recently where loving unconditionally came finally to me as a lesson, because there was something that happened that normally, had I been my old self, I would have been very hurt about
the incident. But because I am myself now in light and knowledge that it did not do that, but at the same time it made me question, is it that I don't really care anymore, or is it really that I do love this person unconditionally? I did not get an answer that, there was not anything right away that told me that, but as I walked through the day and I sent love to it, I eventually pulled to the conclusion that it's because I am, for myself, I feel that I'm finally living that which I'm learning, and that is the unconditional love.
Yes. In what you are saying, I see what you mean. And there will be times when, if you live the life of love and are true to your God self, some will think you are cold and uncaring. And it is because they do not understand. This is what you're saying, is it not?
That is correct.
Yes. Be not concerned about this. Just send them love and release it to God, and continue to be true to yourself and to the understanding that you have.
My other question is, does it become easier to know that right away instead of spending the entire day, as you said, overanalyzing?
Yes, it does, my dear one. It will become easier if you continue to practice. And this is the plane of practice, practice, practice. Because you have a lot of opportunities to practice, do you not?
Yes.
Yeah. On these dimensions of love and light, the opportunities to practice are not so great as you have here. And this is why that you have placed yourself in these positions, is to grow in to understanding the truth of love, the truth of God, the truth of your own being. Are there other questions this evening?
I'm sorry. Anyway, I don't have another question. I would like to thank you because I know that you helped me with that.
Yeah.
Sure, you felt like everybody.
When you state that it's not necessary to analyze so heavily, to come to the point of free-flow and having it this right there in our heart, so we can live it in our lives instead of think it and talk about it. Do we now have to get to the point of analyzing to know what that is?
You're analyzing, aren't you? Yes.
I mean, analyze the power thought so we can get this to our feeling.
Let us try to make it simple and bring it down to this one thing. Is it loving? And think back of the attributes of love. There are many more than the 9 that Paul talked about. But if you are practicing divine love, then you need not analyze or judge whether this is good or bad. Within the center of your being, God dwells. And when this is the subject tonight that we are getting acquainted with, is how are you in God? And when you understand and feel God's presence and have that communication with Him, then you will always know, and there will need not be any judgment or analyzing. That is what you work towards. And that is why to take some time out every day and have that contact with just you and God alone. Do you understand? Not quite, huh?
I didn't stir my mind, my heart didn't set up and probably don't.
Yeah. The heart is, the word heart is used in many ways, and in the depths of your being or your feeling is sometimes thought of as the heart and not the physical organ, of course. And the heart can also be used as the voice of God. How do you feel in your heart? Or what does your heart tell you? Can be another way of saying, what does God tell you? It does take practice, my dear, and do not be overly concerned, but have the contact with God each day. And as you have that rapport build up more and more with His presence within you and the understanding and the realization, then the answers are always there and you will be able to hear them. But it does take the practice. Until then, do the best that you can and send love into each situation and release it to God. Does this help you? Yes. God bless you. It is a beautiful group this evening, and it is a beautiful rapport now that has been built up between us. And each one of you, if you will, for just a moment, feel the presence of God within you, and in our presence, His presence within our group, our circle of light. Feel His love for you. Practice this when you go aside from the world each day. Practice feeling His presence and His love for you. And as you learn to do this, then the communication will be there, maybe not in words, but in a knowing, in a deep understanding. Are there other questions this evening?
Yes, I have a question.
Could you speak louder, please?
Yes. Can we ask God to help us give us presence, as His presence?
You're going to have to speak louder.
It's, I was wondering if we can ask God to help us
Feel His presence every day. Yes. Ask God for everything. Everything that is good. And ask your teachers and guardian angels, whatever you call them, and send love into helping you to feel God's presence. Send God's love into this. And ask God, yes, this is what you should do when you sit down to be with Him. Ask Him to come forward in your conscious awareness and help you to feel His presence, help you to understand more about His love and the laws of life. Continually ask and seek and knock, and it shall be open unto you. Yeah. God bless you. Are there other questions this evening? This has been a wonderful time with you and a beautiful experience. And many, many on this side have had this experience with you. Remember them when you send love. Remember that they are your brothers and sisters, and that they are growing with you, and they are a part of your group. Whether you can see them or not, know that they are there. God bless you, my dear ones. I love you dearly, each and every one. Good night. Could we stand false? Now let's think of coming together in the physical as we have been in spirit, as we hold hand. Let this be symbolic of bringing down heaven on earth, where we truly have been in a state of heaven for this past hour or so. And we'll have the Master speaking to us, entering our quicksand. And remember to go within each day and ask God and listen for the answer, and you shall receive. Thank you, God.
Putting. I'm tiny, and now I may need